My experience at Braamfontein was non-existent. When I was at university, I didn't know the suburb existed. It was in the early and mid-1990s, which was exactly when, the city started to taper off and spiral to a degree, crime, and a whole host of other different things in the early 1990s. But the biggest issue was this chronic decentralization. The people that either owned properties or occupied buildings in the area there was this massive flight. So it wasn't ever an issue of gentrification or displacement. It was about reconstituting, rebuilding, repurposing, and most of all reimagining, which is, I think, my strong suit. That's where my brain is all the time. So Braamfontein was a non-entity for me. It didn't exist in my life when I was at Wits University, surprisingly, which is why today, many years down the line, I'm such a massive advocate for the sorts of changes that Wits is finally talking about. I often get to say that the great luxury of my life is that I walk through my imagination every day. I get to imagine things, I get to create them, I get to build them, and I get to actually activate them and make them happen. And in my line of thinking, I don't think there's a greater gift you can have in life than to be able to repurpose, rework, reconstitute the things that happen in your mind in real life. So this building was a logical thing for me. Everyone was saying it's right on the railway line. Who wants to live on the railway line? And for me, I thought, well, who wouldn't want to live on the railway line if you have a view like you do here? I mean, everyone wants a view, and I think the big prevailing theme in property has always been this concept of location. And then all of, the fortuitous aspects, the connecting the dots, the putting the pieces together, the understanding what your placement is, what you're geared to do, and what you love to do, and finding all of those moments in a single moment in time. And I think that happened when I was doing my law articles in Braamfontein, and I had the luxury of walking the streets and starting to familiarize myself. And I think at that stage, it was 11 or 12 years ago, most of my contemporaries wouldn't have known about the city because my age category didn't grow up with the city. It was that place, the pariah, the non-entity, the place that you don't go and visit, the things, it's the domain of lunacy, I think. And I'd also had the luxury of traveling extensively in my life. So I had seen how people my age were living in New York and London and Tokyo and Paris. And it's something that I aspired to. It's something that seemed a practical, logical approach to life. It seemed like they were having much more fun than I was. And I wanted some of what they were having. And it was, for me, I think there are two schools of thought, and I think that's a prevailing theme for the last decade in South Africa, is that a lot of people think that you can have a better experience, a better time of it somewhere else, and that you are perpetually, with one leg firmly entrenched in the ground in South Africa and one other leg's trying to find a footholding in case it all, comes to naught. And I don't subscribe to that way of living, and I don't subscribe to that way of thinking. So if you're going to do something, then you're going to have both feet firmly entrenched in the ground. Your mind and your imagination can be, up there in the clouds all you like, but you need to commit 150%. And if you aren't committing 150%, you'll never see your true potential, and you'll never be able to create the things that you are capable of creating.